technological revolution has arrived. We now have all these devices and gadgets and mobile phones and iPhones and laptops and electronic games, and it is impacting on our brains. And people are asking, is it rewiring our brains? What is it doing to our brains? Are we giving children the kind of quality play and media options that are optimal for their development? That's the question I'm going to be looking at.
And so it's really important when we're looking at children playing these games that we're looking at what kinds of understandings of the world are children showing us when they're playing these games. We can encourage them to extend their understandings. We can encourage them to renegotiate the play scripts so that Superman, instead of jumping on somebody, might actually pick somebody up and cuddle them. What would happen if Superman did that? Could we do that? Let's try it. So it's about interpreting what you're seeing and extending it.
Then she stopped them and said, okay, we're going to play Batman and Robin now. Go and get the face makeup. And so they went and they spent a long time making up their faces, and she let them run around like a wild thing for a couple of minutes. Then she called them back and said she'd drawn a girl from in the centre, and she brought her over and said, this is Mrs. Smith. Someone down at the supermarket's just stolen her purse. What are you going to do about it? Well, there were seven boys. 6 of them ran off and said, we'll find them and beat them up. But the other little thug walked over to Mrs. Smith, put his arm around her and said, don't worry, I'll stay here and look after you. Lovely social learning going on.
When you give children in centres iPads, the first thing they want to do is to see what they've been doing. Now, do you know what that does for children when they get to see what they've been doing? It gives them an opportunity for higher order thinking, and that opportunity for higher order thinking is really what we're all about. That ability to think metacognitively, to reflect, revise and revisit daily activities extends learning. So let's say little Jimmy's been in the sandpit and he was talking about digging a very, very deep hole. And he got to the bottom of the sandpit but couldn't go any further because the sandpit had one of those liners in it. Now, if I showed him photos of him doing that a few days later, I could extend his learning and engage him further by talking about the language he was using, by talking about what he found, giving him an opportunity to reflect, revisit and revise. That would not only engage him, but hopefully it would extend his learning.
Some of my colleagues were looking at maths and thinking about the way that we teach children maths and understanding maths concepts, and when they actually went to the internet and looked at the kinds of apps available, they actually found that the full range of learning manipulative experiences that children need to be effective in maths are all there in the internet. All those apps are available. Children can get the kind of learning that they need to function effectively with maths if you select the appropriate apps. But that interaction with adults to facilitate that learning was also really important. So it's not just a matter of giving the kid the iPad and saying, go and sit down and play that game, and when you've done it, play that one, and when you've finished that, play that one. It's actually engaging with the children in those games and using the adult or the more knowledgeable peer to support and scaffold that learning in the apps, and of course keeping it fun.
And related to that, parental agency. And so when you get to a point in a conversation like this where you're sort of saying, oh, well, it's just up to parents to do X, Y, Z, you always have to stop and think, well, not all parents have the capacity to do that. So it's lovely to think that parents could all have the conversation with their children about what they're seeing, on their screens, and how they need to think about that and so on. But not all parents have that capacity to even know what to say, let alone know how to say it. And so that's where we come back to the old adage of taking a village to raise a child, and how it's the responsibility of, in a sense, all adults who come into contact with a child to try to improve that aspect of things in that child's life, within reason, of course.